Hi there, Ian Michael here, and today we're going to be talking about the three types of revolvers that you come across usually in films, TV shows, and in real life as well. So I'm going to go through each of them step by step and the different loading procedures that each of them have, the pros and cons of them, and usually what movies you mostly see each of them in.
So the first of the three variants that we have of revolvers is what's going to be called the swing-out revolver. Now, swing-out revolvers, they originated in the late 1800s. I believe it was the Colt M1889 Colt revolver that came first for a swing-out revolver, although swing-outs were, I believe, patented in the 1850s by the French, the British, and other European countries. But with this one specifically, it is the 38 Special Smith & Wesson with a 2-inch barrel. Now, swing out implies the very thing that every revolver like this is known for. It swings out. When you depress this slide here, I'll show it again. When you depress this slide forward, it swings out to the left. And you can see here, it can freely spin. Now, this gives ease of access and ease of reloading as compared to the old cowboy pistols, which we'll get to. And the good thing about these ones is that it has a plunger ejector right here that when depressed, you can see that it extracts the bullets. So, on a chance that you fire it and a brass gets stuck, instead of you freely dropping it with gravity, you can use this to push it out. Because a real firearm, unlike this one, the brass can expand and get stuck in one of the barrels in the cylinder. So, just to show ease, you can fire it, depress it, plunge it out, and it all comes out like so. Now, there are two ways to reload a swing-out revolver. One is the most common one that people see a lot in movies, is the single load, which takes single cartridges like this, and you just put them one by one into the 6 or 5 shot cylinder. Usually using your other hand to rotate it to make it easier to reload, like so. Now, the only problem with that is that since you're reloading each and every single cylinder within the revolver, it takes a long ass time to get it all in there in time during a firefight. So one of the things they developed is on my left here, is what you call a speed loader. Now, speed loaders are in these little contraptions that you put 6 rounds in and you quarter turn it to make it taut so they cannot get out. But when you put it into the cylinder and you give it a quarter twist the other way, it unlocks all 6 cylinders when you have it in the cylinder itself, and all of them release at the same time. Meaning that what takes several seconds to reload only happens in a second. So to demonstrate this, and hopefully without screwing up, is that after I fired all 6 of my rounds, I go, depress the lever, bring this out, dump it all out, and then using my dominant hand to load it in, I put it in and I give it a twist, and they're all in. And just like that, you shave off very, very crucial seconds in a gunfight with a revolver if you have a speed loader on hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to load a speed loader. It's just pretty straightforward. So you put the cartridges in, butt in first into the cylinder. And now what you're supposed to do, which is what I forgot to mention in the first clip, is that to lock it in, you push up, then twist, and that locks it in place. So they cannot fall out, and they're stable. You can have in your bullet pouch or your belt if you're a police officer, or just loose in your pocket, which I'll demonstrate later. And then that way, to show how quickly you can fire these off and then reload with a speed loader, you fire 6 shots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, take it down, out, then using your 2 fingers to hold the cylinder in place, you do that, and what you do is you press forward, releases the cartridges, bring it out, and then you have all 6 shots in, and you're ready to go again. Now, the other thing to do with the swing out revolvers too is that it does not matter the size, the ease of reload is the same. So to show that, I'm going to show you the biggest, most powerful handgun in the world model, the Smith & Wesson Model 29 44 Magnum replica. So I can see here, this thing is a fucking beast. And this one is a little bit longer than one you would see in the film Dirty Harry. Harry Callahan has I believe a 6-inch barrel on his, while this one is a 7.5 about. So with this one, the same philosophy is used. You push forward the lever and the revolver swings out. Now this one is heftier and way heavier. And the same thing happens with this, is that it uses a plunger to eject the spent cartridges inside. So, using the same kind of philosophy, just gonna adjust. You fire gun, and then this one makes it a little bit easier to handle since it's bigger, that when you push it out, you use your 2 fingers here to hold the cylinder in place so you can rotate it whichever way, and then you can depress it out like so. And then the same thing, you put that in, you push forward, they fall in, and you're ready to rock and roll and make somebody's day. Now for the second revolver type is going to be what's called the break top revolver, the top break, or the hinged revolver. Now what this dictates is, like the swing out, it's in the name. So with this one has a lever on the side here that when you depress and you crank the barrel, it breaks open from the top. Now, it didn't work this first time, but I'm going to show it again and hopefully it'll properly eject. If not, then that's no biggie. Is that after you fire your pistol, you take this and you're supposed to snap it really fast and it's supposed to all eject out. Now, on the off chance that this doesn't work, let's try it again, and wham. Well, got one out. On the odd chance that doesn't work, the ejector is supposed to work really well, but given that this is airsoft, it's kind of a piece of shit. However, if that doesn't work, you can always just, like so, or if you still have very persistent bastards in there, you eject it like that. Which I would think for the most part, just to make sure you don't get any jam brass in there and such, that would be the best way of getting all the spent cartridges out. Because I've seen in movies and in clips that I've shown on here as well, that when you crank it, it's supposed to fly right out. But this one, unfortunately, even though it's really good for the realism of the weight and the look of it, it does not properly eject like the actual pistol would. This is showing another demonstration of to do the proper ejecting, and if it's being stubborn still, is that usual way is to crank it up, and these are all supposed to fly out. Now, keep in mind that since these are airsoft fake cartridges, that these are heavier than what a spent cartridge would be, so therefore it would not fly out as well as, well, spent ones. So for the sake of showing how it actually ejects, you do the flash like that. Or if you have any stuck casings in there, if the ejector doesn't work properly, you do that, or to show you, there it is. You can ease it up like that, so it's halfway out before it snaps closed, and it all goes out. And then easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, like the swing out revolver, the break top action revolvers can also take speed loaders as well as what they call moon clips. Now, I don't have any on hand. However, as I'm speaking, I'll be showing some clips of the types of moon clips that you see that professional shooters and scenes in films that they would use these type of moon clips.
And the same thing when you go to load it, guys. Gravity is going to be your friend. If you try to load like this, you're going to have to manually insert the cartridges and push them home, versus gravity, your friend. A moon clip, either synthetic or metal, to attach it. So we're packed all in one package. It's a real tidy setup for a revolver.
And these ones usually are flush with the rim of the cartridge itself, so that way you can just put it right in. You just drop it right in each and every time. And then it's supposed to be that when you use them all up, when you eject them, all 6 of them are stuck to the moon clip, and so the whole thing comes out as its own little wad. Now, the only downside with a moon clip is that they're usually made out of aluminum or steel or any metal that is malleable enough that if you bend it or if it gets warped or rusted, it will determine how easy you can get it into the barrel. Now, coming back to the speed loader variant, it is the same philosophy. You eject out your cartridges, you take your speed loader, you place it in, if it'll let me. This thing's being a bastard. There we go. So this one was being a little bit of a bugger, but it would be the same thing, that you press down, it releases, and it gets released in there. Now, I believe for this certain type of break action, this would more than reliably use moon clips or single loads as compared to a speed loader. Because speed loaders, I think, are made mostly for more modern revolvers than it would have been for the 19th century and the 18th century, 20th and 19th century revolvers. So this one being a World War I variant, probably would use moon clips, half moon clips, or single loads only. And then with this next clip, it would also would have been used, instead of speed loaders, would have used the same ones of moon clips, half moon clips, and single loads. Now, using the same philosophy with the break action, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the swing out revolvers and show you how it's done with a bigger revolver. And now this one is the Schofield 1873 revolver. Now this one is the same thing. Now, unfortunately with this one, it does not have a side lever to release it. What most people did instead is that wherever the latch was, they take it there and they crank it, which ejects the cartridges like so. Now, this one, like the Colt single action, is single action only, meaning when you depress this trigger, it will not activate until you cock the hammer fully. And then you fire it like so. And like the Smith & Wesson Model 2944 Magnum, this one Schofield is a longer barrel than the conventional one. A conventional one is anywhere from 5 to 6 inches, while this one is a 7-inch barrel. Just because it looks cooler and looks way more intimidating when you have a bigger gun. But yeah, just to show again, and to adjust, you take this, break it open, and the cartridges would fly out if these were spent and not airsoft cartridges. So with the same thing, these fall out pretty easily. Minus that one bugger. Come on, bitch. Alright, try it again. Wham. There you go. So that way, this is more representative of what a moon clip would look like if it was built into the gun. Because I believe an actual ejector for a Schofield or Webley would be a little bit smaller than this, but for the sake of the airsoft, it needs to catch the rim, and so therefore it is more closer in size to that of the actual moon clip. So yeah, and then if I do it all the way, snaps closed. Now just showing a quick demonstration, one other thing about the Schofield that made it way more of a light gun, I say, than the Colt single action army was that cavalry could actually reload the Schofield on horseback with one hand. What they do is that while holding the reins with their pistol is that, and at the same time, keep in mind, they have the reins to their horses, is that they can hold the barrel, depress that down, and then with one hand, they can take their time while riding on horseback, even though it'll be a little bit jumbly and such, to take from their belt or pouch and reload as necessary. And they can do this, as stated before, with moon clips or half moon clips, and then they're ready to go on horseback. And last but not least, we're going into the single load loading gate or a loading port pistol, which is predominantly famous by the one and only Colt single action army that was made in 1873 by Samuel Colt. Now, before this time, as I'll show in some clips, there was mostly during the Civil War up until the 1870s, there was use of ball and cap black powder pistols that had longer reloading times, given that you had to put actual gunpowder into each cylinder from the front and then put a lead ball in and push it in like a rampart of a muzzle loader, and then properly put percussion caps on the back end of the cylinders for it to spark the gunpowder to fire the ball out of the gun. Now, Samuel Colt actually made this process a whole lot easier with the using of metal cartridges that house the ball and gunpowder into an easy load. So, after somebody spends their 6 shots in a Colt, what they would have to do is that they'd first have to half cock their Colt. That way, as you can see here, the cylinder can move freely. It will not let you do that when you fully cock it or when it's uncocked. It's very difficult to move the cylinder, but at a half cock, it's free reign. Now, after you half cock it, there is a side gate on your right-hand side that when you flip open, exposes the cartridges on the inside. And what you're able to do is that lining it up with a spent cartridge, and with, keep this in mind, a real brass cartridge would have expanded from the explosion, and so would more than likely be stuck instead of sliding out easier. On the side here is a ejector plunger. So pushing out, it will allow you to go all the way back. And as I'm pushing that back, just to push it back, you see that it automatically ejects the spent cartridge. You line it up again and does the same. You do it again, does the same, do it again, does the same. And then if you're lucky enough, you can let gravity do the work. If, let's say, this is show you loading procedure 2. This is show with 3 rounds. You see a spent one there, and if you're lucky, if the brass is loose, you can just let it fall out like so. Now, unlike what I've spoken about with the swing out cylinder revolvers and the break top action revolvers, the unfortunate thing with the Colt single action Army is that it only does single loads. There's no faster way of getting a speed loader or a moon clip into the cylinder than just opening the port, half cocking it, and letting out the spent cartridges first, and loading 5 or 6 shots back into it with both hands. Now, the only speed loading you can really do with this is that if you're really quick with reloading, like you see in movies, or to use a more current example, Red Dead Redemption 2, how your player character can reload this in like 3 seconds flat, which is insane. And I would only see that if that was in like a speed shooting contest in like Texas or in a video game mainly. But I would say, even though its drawback with the single action use as compared to the double action of the other 2 types, and the single load of the loading gate only, the only example I can think of a changed design of it is I would use example from a movie I grew up with, which was Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider. Now in Pale Rider, as seen in this clip, handedly load each and every cartridge, or heaven forbid, you had to put the powder and the ball back into it, and that took even longer than a metal cartridge would in a single action Army.